All right, jumping into the weekend outlook today, we'll be breaking down a ton of tokens for you. And we're going to do it both on the technical analysis side, but also what's happening within the projects themselves. You guys don't want to miss this one. It's going to be a good one. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into TechPath. Before we get started, of course, I want to thank our sponsor, and that is LuxAlgo. LuxAlgo is one of the trading tools out there that we've started to utilize. And listen, I've had a chance to use a variety of these things, and we're continuing to explore. What I have found is there's some very interesting indicators that I think we'll get a chance to showcase today in the show. Make sure and use the link down below. It does help the channel out, and we'll get into it. But you just guys, if you want to learn more about it, just visit LuxAlgo.com. We'll show you a little bit more about that stuff today. Let's get into a few points here. And I want to lead off with Bitcoin. And you just look at the movement that we've seen after the FOMC meeting, but also the optimism. Even though I feel that we are still getting somewhat skeptical optimism, if you look at our sentiment data within the market sentiment index, it's not flying, but it's definitely trending up. Watch Your Guru comes in. Bitwise is now predicting, let me kind of zoom in on that for you guys so you can realize what the number is. Bitwise is now predicting Bitcoin to hit a new all-time high of 80K in 2024. Some people may look at that and say, well, that's really conservative. If you look at some other actions out there, now we have this one coming in. And this one, of course, is talking about 100K Bitcoin. And don't undervalue the ETF influence. This is Adam Back that's kind of hit on this. And there's a couple of points he hits on within the article. And it's kind of interesting. COVID-19, obviously, we know the quantitative easing, all the money coming into the market. Sure, yes, that was a big one, which obviously helped us get that last run up within and where Bitcoin hit 69K. So if it had not happened, would we have already been at 100K is the real question. Because if you didn't see that market dump in 2019 and 20, and then the run up, did we get a somewhat thwarted run on Bitcoin in the last cycle? I'd love to get you guys' input. Drop some comments down below. And of course, as always, make sure and smash the like button if you guys love to see more on these kinds of topics. This was just, Eric Balchunas hitting on that 90% odds of approval by January 10th. We talked quite a bit about that by far. So it's going to be interesting. Now, what we want to do today is bring in a technical analyst from LuxAlgo. And we want to do that because, one, we're going to start to learn a little bit more about how to utilize LuxAlgo, and for you guys to kind of understand how analyst tools can be hopefully guiding your way through this next bull run. So I want to introduce and welcome into the show Jacob over from LuxAlgo. Great to have you, man.
Hey, Paul. How you doing?
All right. So we led off with Bitcoin. I set you up. I threw you a lob. That's as easy as I can do. What is the chart? What is the chart showing right now for Bitcoin? Are any of these numbers even similar with our, when you look at short term TA?
I mean, it's fun. It's fun to be optimistic about it. I'll tell you that. But the current price point we are at, I mean, we've been watching this for a while now, and 40,000 was really our first target point due to pretty much the oscillator matrix in which we were watching. We had that initial, breakout back in October, and then kind of some consolidation. Now, we all know Bitcoin likes to consolidate before big moves, but the biggest thing we were watching was on our oscillator matrix down here. We get this thing called coiling. And the biggest thing with it is when you get a flip of what this middle cloud here is called the money flow, when you see this two colors start to form, that means there's like an overflow of buyers coming in. Mm-hmm. So seeing this with the price extended here, usually for a trend continuation, especially on the daily chart, we want to see it kind of reset as in come back from an overbought area, right? But then we want to see that consolidation form. And when you see multiple of these turning points, like here, these little dots, we call that coiling. And so usually what occurs after that, so long as that money stays bullish, the money flow stays bullish, you usually get a nice impulse. And, FOMC had a good drive on that. But overall, we were able to kind of see that push into the 40K mark we were really looking for in this current level that we're at.
So I have a couple of questions for you, Jacob. In looking at the LuxAlgo chart, and you see some indicators there that for some of our viewers that might try LuxAlgo out,
Yeah.
I want to go to a few of the key points to it. Let's go back to your screen
Hmm.
and show them the chart on Bitcoin. Okay, so
Yes.
the red flags and the blue X's, what are those indices and what do they mean?
Yeah. So you're talking about these signals
Yep,
here and then the blue
yep.
X's? Okay. Yeah.
Hmm.
So this is currently a setting within our indicator that is an AI signal classifier. It pretty much classifies the signals based on that current price action. So, the higher the signal, the more confirmed that move is. So in this
Right,
case, we had a three signal back, below 30K there. And pretty much all that is saying is like, okay, prepare for, possible bullish run
right.
coming up. And then the X points are just take profit points. So in this
Gotcha.
case, this would be your first take profit, second take
Hmm.
profit. And then what we like to say is, the signals and overlays, which is what we're looking at now, is more so a trend following tool. So when you're
Right.
seeing opposite signals, but you're seeing bullish trend, you treat that as like the optimal final take profit is when you see an
Okay,
opposing signal like this. So,
perfect.
yeah,
Yeah, we've had a chance to play with the tool. Uh, Very interesting thing, as you guys know, we do our market sentiment index, which is basically tracking sentiment within a project. And it's
yeah,
our SaaS product. You guys can, of course, check it out over on just pbn3.com or Paul Bear Network. But one thing I did, Jacob, was I took your matrix oscillator and I used the same time period. And then I
right,
overlaid that to our sentiment data, and I was trying to track the money flow. And I've tested this with Chart Prime, I've tested this with Market Cipher. I've never seen one that lines up with our sentiment data very accurately. In other words, when we're right on sentiment, is a TA right as well? It's almost like back
mhm,
testing. So for
yeah,
us,
exactly.
we could never back test with this. So, but anyway, we've done that now. It's a new feature that we're adding into our TA analysis that's only available over on the Diamond Circle. So you guys make sure and jump in on that. Let's jump over to what's happening with Ethereum right now. You got JP Morgan saying Ethereum is going to outperform Bitcoin in 2024. And I think a lot of people understand, hey, we are a channel that talks about all things Web3, ETH, Web3 gaming. So we get into a lot of different looks. ETH is one of our core positions. Now, Jacob, when you look at Ethereum right now, this has been one that has been a little bit slow in terms of
Yes.
movement in pace. What are your thoughts on ETH over the next little bit?
Yeah, you got it. I mean, currently you're right. It's been very slow. We've been watching that over here too, and kind of curious to why. On the charting front, I mean, it's very similar to Bitcoin. We're currently coming off of this high, but we're still holding our previous high that we had back in November. So, and just this little run, obviously. But going back on the weekly chart, I mean, if we're considering this a lagging, you know, asset here on the crypto side, I still think, we have that move to retest kind of this key support that we had back in, January of 22, which is the $2,500. So it's, one of those things where we want to see that proper market structure kind of set up. Maybe get a small, retracement back to 2100, but I don't see this, especially with the recent change in trend direction here. So you can
Mm-hmm.
see on the smart trail here. So long as it holds that 22K mark, I think we really are going to set up for that 2,500 move.
Yeah, so you like the 2,500 within terms of range right now. You're looking on the weekly chart there, but or actually, was that the daily or the weekly?
That was the weekly. Sorry, I just moved
Okay,
back
all
to
right.
the
Flip
daily.
back to the daily. All right. When you look at the weekly and you see the strength that is happening with ETH right now, our market sentiment index is kind of interesting because we are seeing a bit of an uptick with ETH, at least on amplification, which kind of gives us a little bit more of an indicator around, around intent. People looking at ETH mainly to this point right here. But what are your
Mhm.
thoughts about ETH, say by first week in January? This is 2 weeks away. What do you like right now on ETH as far as a target?
Yeah, similar to what I said, that 2,500 level is my first overall target. Obviously, I don't want to be crazy optimistic going into a new year. End of year with FOMC had a fantastic move. with the the rate cuts coming in 2024. Supposedly, we hope for those rate cuts. But again, yeah, we're in a current state where we're setting up honestly a nice little what we like to look for also is a typical bull flag, as you would call it. But
Right.
with this being in a current 2 signal, this means for us, we are currently out of all positions if we were to consider the signals themselves with LuxAlgo. So we want to get another signal forming following the smart trail trend we got here. What we really like is the money flow staying bullish with the hyperwave, which is the middle oscillator here, the one that's going to extended and not, but it's back. It's back in the 50s now. So as long as we get in a signal lining up with that, I really think, that 25 is going to break pretty easily, 2,500, and then so on from there for now.
Yeah, I look at the zones on taking profit on ETH, and even within this right here, if you did follow the LuxAlgo trade, you would have done an 11% if you were taking profit from your previous 2 points right there on take profit. So interesting. Okay, I like it. All right, let's get into a couple other points here, because this is something that I think is going to have an impact in general on Coinbase. Even though this is not a huge setback for Coinbase, SEC denies Coinbase petition for their crypto rulemaking. For you guys, this does not pertain to the lawsuit and what Coinbase is trying to do in terms of their motion to deny. This is more about Coinbase taking an offensive, trying to get the SEC to actually get rulemaking in place. And obviously, Gensler, being Gensler, non-compliant intermediaries, basically he's saying, kind of rubbing it into the collapse of one of the largest compliant crypto intermediaries that cost investors billions. I don't know that was really truthful, but I guess, okay. But the point being is that, will this have an effect on Coinbase? If we go to the Coinbase stock, you've got Cathie Wood selling another 43 million of Coinbase right now. If you look at the Coinbase stock with your trading tools, what does this look like right now? I mean, because this thing's been on a flyer for the last almost 45 days.
It has indeed. I think Cathie's getting off at the highs there for now. Obviously, with the rest of the market moving in the same direction currently, I think it is a little overbought at the moment. From what we're seeing, we had our first, obviously, TP, as we talked about before, with the blue X there. But it's one of those things where, the oscillator's coming off an pretty aggressive high here, but the money flow is staying strong. So I'm somebody, it's pretty typical. I don't fight the trend. So in this case, if it's telling me that it's continuing to, get bought, I'm going to just wait until it tells me the opposite if I were to sell it. But for now, this is something I would just hold, in my opinion. All right,
mainly because of money flow?
Yeah, because of the money flow, as you can see here on the chart itself, it's still in an overflow, which could indicate that, it could be getting exhausted soon. But because of the current pricing state, and it's still an overflow, which means, we have the 2 colors that hasn't fallen off yet. I'm still bullish on it in the current daily time frame. So for now, I would just hold on and wait.
Listen, we did a trade on, I think it was on Hood. Let me pull that chart up here on mine, and I'll go to the daily right here. And we were using LuxAlgo on this, and it did assist us on this. And we did a take profit on Hood right before we saw that daily close, which was down yesterday on Robinhood, obviously trading right now at 1160, but it did clip the top. So I have to attest that was lined up pretty well with that trade. We don't get into stocks that much, but when we do, it's usually something correlated to obviously what's happening in blockchain. So very interesting stuff. Yeah. All right. So a couple other things I want to hit on. We did a show yesterday, and it was on BONK. I mean, listen, it's a meme coin. I get it, but it's a Solana meme coin. And, we're big Solana bulls. We love it. And I just like when I look at Solana, the ecosystem. But the interesting thing about this, and we pointed this out, I don't know if we called this out first or not, but the whole issue of Solana and BONK around the Saga phone, because this was a big deal for some of you guys that are listening in. Basically, you got your Solana phone pretty much paid for by BONK, especially because it was going up. So a very intriguing thing all at once. And this was a tweet, just talking about a BONK saved the Solana on Christmas 2022. And then now it's saving the Saga phone on 23. So if you look at, and I won't ask you to look at meme coins very often, but I want to see the BONK chart just to see
for sure.
how it's playing out.
It's quite impressive. So I would say let's look at the daily chart, but I mean, it's kind of hard to analyze a stock that's being pumped a coin that's being pumped this much. But in this case, I dial back maybe to like a 1 hour to see a similar setup. But again, a 3 is one of our more aggressive signals that we get over here. And then seeing that money flow flip is a big thing we like to watch for alongside, with these signals and overlays. But I mean, this thing just rode that trail all the way. I mean, I don't know if you would call this the moon just yet, but we got our first exit signal. But again, it's coming back down on the oscillator. So in my opinion, if this thing can hold this value, I mean, more than likely you're going to see that next move probably to retest that high it just set today, actually. So it's quite an aggressive chart, but these can be fun to trade if you're not over leveraging yourself.
Yeah. Hey, listen, guys, we don't, meme coins, they're a little crazy. So just be cautious. That's all I say. Anytime and really that's with any trading. Listen, we don't give trading advice here. What we do is look at analytics, the sentiment, the news, and then try to get a good framework around, are these projects in line with getting you guys on your, kind of on your own journey? Because everybody's different in terms of how that works. I want to get into a couple other things here. Obviously, we're talking about Solana. Let's go over to Solana. Price rally now restarts. We saw a little bit more movement on Solana, now clipping up to 80. Question is can it hit 100 in the next couple of weeks, especially before the ETF decision that could be coming here in 2.5 weeks now on January, what we think are going to be somewhere around January 5th to January 8th. When you look at the Solana chart, Jacob, what do you see there?
Oh, I like the Solana chart, that's for sure. So this is something that we are talking about on Bitcoin that we really like to see for continuation. So usually, like we talked about already, is like we have our strong money flow, we get the reset of the oscillator, which means the hyperwave comes back down, you get a little bit of coiling. But here you go. You had your 2 exit points before, and then you had that 2 signal. But then this is what we call that trend continuation signal. So we have a 3 that came out of an uptrend already. You can already see the price movement it's had so far along on this. So in my opinion right now, I like that move to the 80s and maybe highs of 90s just based on the oscillator having that chance to reset. Now, of course, I haven't had a chance here to look at the weekly chart, but in this case, we're very extended on the weekly. So, but the money flow is flipping. So normally on this type of chart, we like to see, if you aren't already in this, we would like to see a retracement due to the fact that we're extremely extended on a weekly. So a weekly being extended like this, we definitely might want to see a come off this high before considering anybody to enter, for the first time or again. But for those of you that are holding, I mean, this so far does have an opportunity to probably continue to the 90s and, right volume, the hundreds. So we'll see.
Well, yeah, this is going to be one that I think we have to keep a very close eye on in terms of, just some of the movers. It is, again, one of our key positions, that we've done for sure. Like I said, guys, if you want to jump over and get the LuxAlgo trading tools, just go over to our website. You can click that LuxAlgo partners link. It'll take you right over to their website and jump in. Thinking about that and on to another token, and that is Avalanche right now. This is a big deal to me. Avalanche did something very special here, and I've talked to John Wu about this time in and time out. And the whole point is this. We've said it many times. Whoever in Web 2 brings the Web 2 crowd into Web 3 with little friction, that's the winner. Okay, just downright, that's the winner. So this kind of user onboarding is so bullish for crypto adoption. AVAX, of course, just pulled this off with Core. If you guys don't know what Core app is, think of this as a DEX for Avalanche. And the cool thing is they've integrated Gmail and Apple logins. So essentially, it's kind of like an OAuth. for Gmail and Apple ID, of being able to get into Core App. So that's a big deal. We use Core App for getting access to certain types of tokens for swaps and stuff. But this to me is huge. Now, how does this translate to the Avalanche token is the question mark. So looking at the chart, Jacob, what does it look like?
Yeah, I mean, we have a similar pattern to what we really like to see for these type of continuations. And we had that, consolidation during a strong uptrend. Money flow, biggest thing we like to say on this money flow is you can see this separate line here. And when you break that threshold, that really means that there's strong either bull or bearish volume, as you can see on the bear side down here. But we've been super strong with the overflow. And so far, we don't really see this stopping anytime soon. If anything, we would get a slight consolidation like you saw here. And then you get that, volume spike with the overflow, and then you get your continuation once again. But we're already in 2 TPs off the second trend continuation signal. So will we get, another opposing signal to kind of close out a, longer position or hold? Right. That's going to depend here as you can already see with these upper wicks prices slowing a bit. But, if we get that consolidation, you might see this exact setup occur. So stay tuned.
Yeah. And Solana, Avalanche was a little bit slow off the mark here with the FOMC meeting this week. We saw a little bit of movement, and then it retraced, I think, back down to around 37, high 37s, which might have been a good play on here if you were doing just swing trades, because you're right now trading at about $40. And to your point, a take profit right there on Avalanche. So, and I am looking at that oscillator matrix, because when you look at money flow, because this is something that we track on the sentiment side, because sentiment typically, when our amplification indicator, it typically means money flow is heating up. And right now it appears as though money flow is still on a slight uptrend in the oscillator matrix right now. And I know you've got 2 take profits there, but is this, if you were playing this, would you go ahead and take profit on this one and set back, or would you just kind of hold the position?
I would be holding right now. I mean, it's still above that threshold, as you can see on your chart, and you still have overflow. I mean, it is very extended, but in this case with, Avalanche, it's a very good spot to start to think about if I need to exit soon. It's one of those things where you maybe want to watch it more than you would. But so far, as long as it's holding up there, it's still got room to go until we see something opposite. For sure.
All right, well, this is good. This is a good weekend outlook. I think we'll be doing these weekly with LuxAlgo, trying to get a little bit of a head start on what could happen over these weekends, because those are typically volatile days, especially as we lean into the first week or 2 of January when we see the ETF. So we'll keep you guys updated. Jacob, it was great having you on, man. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. You bet. All right.
Of course, yeah.
Again, guys, when you, if you're not already subscribed to the Diamond Circle, make sure and get in, because one of the things that we do over there, when you go to the Diamond Circle, which you can visit just pbn3.substack, and you'll land on this page. You can sign up right here, and typically what you'll get is a lot of our content, additional podcasts, all that good stuff. And don't forget, if you're not following me out there on X, it's very simple, @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.